Ahoy there, Captain Benzie here, coming at you with another video from inside the Eve Echo's final test. Today I wanted to continue the series of looking at getting started with each of the different factions by looking at their early faction frigates and their weapon types, by now looking at the Amarr ships with the Punisher frigate. Now, of course, if you do enjoy this video, let me know by hitting a like on it, consider subscribing to the channel for all things Eve Echoes, and of course ding that notification bell to know when the next video goes live. On top of that as well, let me know what topics you'd like to see me cover in future videos. What questions do you have that you would like answered? Let me know in the comment section below. Come find me on social media, shown along the bottom of the screen, and join the Catskull Cartel Discord, where we like to talk about all things Eve Echoes and will help you out with anything that you may have. Of course, as well, if you do really want to help support this channel, come find me on Patreon. Every dollar really helps keep this channel going. Anyway, that said and done, let's look at the Punisher. So when you start out with Amarr, of course you start off in a corvette, you get a couple of little frigates early on, but if you like your laser cannons, if you're enjoying that playstyle, then the Punisher is kind of the first real ship that you will get your hands on. Now, for me, I'm not a huge fan of Amarr ships, in fairness. I think the sort of the pearlescent colours and the gold detailing is a little bit too ostentatious for my liking, but that said, the sort of shark-like profile of the Punisher, even I have to admit, is a pretty cool looking ship. So anyway, let's jump into the fitting, look at the different stats for it, and talk about what this actually means going forward. So first of all, it is a Tech Level 3 frigate, which means you are going to be able to access this very early on. It's got 2 high slots, 1 medium slot and 2 low slots, and it can be insured for repairs as a beginner player, which is always very useful. Now, its bonuses come from very basic skills that you're probably going to be training early on anyway. For every skill that you have in small laser operation, you'll get an additional 8% small beam laser damage and a reduction of 10% to small beam laser capacitor need. Now, if you've watched my video on weapons, you'll understand that small beam lasers actually do require quite a bit of capacitor to activate, which can be a real problem with them. So this actually reduces those down while increasing the damage. If you've got full 5 points in small laser operation, that's 40% additional laser damage with a 50% reduction to the amount of capacitor it requires. That's huge. And if you're putting full 5 levels in frigate command, you get a bonus of 4% to your armor resistances, meaning that is a whopping 20% extra to all of your armor. Now, if you look down the list here as well, you can see it's a decent warp speed of 5 AU, decent flight velocity of 380 milliseconds, but meters per second, so not milliseconds, what on earth am I saying? So it's a frigate, it's fast, those are fairly standard, decent sized power grid at 50 megawatts, cargo hold is what you'd expect from a frigate, but it's actually got a surprisingly good spread on its armor, and that's before you add in the bonuses for frigate command. This thing can be an absolute beast early on. It's a great little combat frigate, kind of on par with the Kestrel or with some of the early Minmatar ones. Anyway, if we have a look at the fittings then and what I've put in, obviously the DPS that I've got here is mainly because I've got Imperial Navy small beam lasers fitted. Obviously you're not going to have these particular ones, you'll probably have like a Mark 5 or a Mark 3. Early on your Mark 3s are still pretty good. The actual difference in damage isn't huge. Stat-wise they're pretty similar. These have just got slightly longer range, or slightly higher damage, sorry, not longer range than the other ones you'll find. But even then, these are just great little lasers to get going with, and you can actually do a surprising amount with these. Now, in the low slots, I have, for some stupid reason, I've put in a shield booster. You don't want a shield booster in here. You would actually want an armor repairer, because this is very much an armor tank, and I will show how we work that out in just a moment, alongside an afterburner, because a frigate is a nice little speedy little thing anyway, but you may as well pop in an afterburner for a little bit of extra speed. Now, how do you know that it's an armor tank? Well, basically, if we go across the defense here on the side, you'll see that it has a shield of 390, whereas it has 539 armor. Basically, when you're trying to work out whether you're a shield or armor tank, you want to go for whichever one of those is highest, or whichever one the ship has bonuses to. Now, straight up, the ship doesn't really get bonuses to either, but it does get a little bit of extra armor resistance. That's a hint that it's an armor tank. Bam, there we can see 539 armor hit points. Now, some people have asked me in the past, with armor tanking, are you literally just supposed to let your shield go all the way down and just disappear into armor? Yes. Your shield recovers itself over time. While you're repairing your armor and keeping your armor steady, the shield will occasionally fill up a little bit and it'll absorb some more hits before coming back and taking the damage on the armor, which you're still repairing. It means when that shield fills up that little bit, your armor repairer repairs up your armor that little bit faster as well. It's a great way of tanking. It just takes a bit of getting used to. For a mid-slot, considering I'm using fairly long-range weapons, there's not really much I would put in here. Keep the ship cheap and you can fly with it just that way. Now, in regards to skills, of course, it is an Amarr vessel, which means you're going to be using lasers. Small laser operation is, of course, a key starting point for this. Small beam laser damage and small beam laser tracking speed are big bonuses that just mean the ship is going to be hitting more and it's going to be dealing more damage every time it hits. Small laser upgrade is another one you're going to be wanting to getting. Again, straight up flat 15% damage, 15% extra accuracy fall off, and 10% extra optimal range. Just means longer range and more damage. Now with these, the 5th point is remarkably expensive to invest in. I would take small laser operation to 4, small laser upgrade to 4, then go back and put the 5th point in each of them. There are no other weapon skills that you'll need on this particular frigate. In regard to cruising technology, obviously frigate command up to 5 again is going to be a very useful skill. At least get it to 4. You're going to be using frigates an awful lot on your career through Eve Echoes. 100% frigate command is a good one to have at 4, if not 5. Afterburner as well, because I'm using that, it's a nice one to have. And under maintenance technology, you do really want to put some more skills into armor operation. I'm a Minmatar pilot mainly, so I tend to use shields, hence I haven't put any skills in armor operation. But if you do, what this will ultimately do is give you a reduction of 15% to the armor repairer activation time, so it will cycle faster. And it requires less capacitor in order to do so. And actually you can see the differences in the costs there as well, that the level 1, level 2, level 3, and level 4 are fairly cheap, and then the level 5 suddenly gets expensive. Get most skills to level 4 before going for the 5th one. Finally then, under maintenance, looking at frigate defense is obviously another great one to go for, just because this simply ups your shield, armor, and structure by 50 of each. That's an extra 150 hit points that people have got to get through before you're blown up. The final thing you may want to consider, especially with Amarr ships, is frigate engineering, because this adds additional 25% to your capacitor, 25% to your power grid, whilst also dropping the amount of capacitor that is required for you to warp. Ultimately, obviously, Amarr ships, you're firing lasers. Lasers use your capacitor, so having a bigger capacitor just means you do better with it. Anyway, it's all very well and good me talking about all the ships and fittings and skills and that you're going to need, but let's actually take this out into an anomaly and do some damage with it. Now, I'm out here in nullsec, so I do wholeheartedly expect someone to lock onto me, tag me, and blow me the hell up, but we're going to go into cosmic anomalies, and there is an angel small anomaly here, which we're going to warp to. This is a level 4 anomaly. Now remember, this is only a Tech 3 ship. Yes, okay, I'm using slightly bigger guns than you would normally have on it, but again, the damage isn't huge there. That's mainly a difference that is going to save you in PvP, or sort of a last minute thing. If you can do it, if I can do this, you can do it with Mark 3 ones as well. The difference isn't that big. So anyway, we're going to warp in now, and as soon as we've warped in, straight away, obviously, we are going to lock onto everything. We know from a long press here, if it's going to let me do it, that my optimal range is about 11 kilometers. There we are with my skills. Sorry, it's actually 12.1 kilometers with an accuracy fall-off of 2.8. Means I want to be at 12 kilometers at all times, basically. Anything beyond 12, and I suddenly drop right down. So let's get out there. Don't worry too much about the shield. The shield is going to drop very quickly, just because I'm not worrying about repairing the shield. It's the armor that I'm going to be worried about. So early on in the fight, I'm not even really using much in the way of my capacitor. As you can see, I'm just going to move away to sort of that 10-12 kilometer mark against this Gisty Talwar and keep shooting at it. And you can see I do a fair amount of damage per hit. These laser cannons do really hurt, especially against like shields, because they are primarily electromagnetic weapons. They cut through shields very, very effectively. And there's the first one down there. Let's focus fire onto the second Talwar, just because Talwars are missiles, and I know they do a spread of damage, which will hurt my armor a lot more than, say, than something else might do, although admittedly the Gisty Vigil is going to have cannons as well, and cannons deal explosive, which goes through my armor pretty heavily. So either way, yeah, it's going to be a bit of a fight once we get down to there. Now, it's always a little bit worrying when you hit like there. I've just hit 21% on my shields. So you can see they keep going up and then back down, up and then back down. That's what shields do naturally. But once it goes below, I think 25%, you get that little alarm go off in your head. That can be very, very distracting as you sit there and feel like your ship's about to get blown up. Don't sweat it. It's not a worry. The ship is not about to blow up just because you're running out of shield. You have to get into your head when you're shield tanking that actually, when you're armor tanking, that your shield doesn't really matter. As you can see there, I've taken a tiny amount of damage into my armor, but then my shield has started to repair. By the time I take another hit, my shield is high enough to absorb part of that, so my armor only takes a small amount. In fact, I'm going to put one cycle on the armor repairer now, just to top that up while I'm at range, so I can do that. And down goes that Vigil. I'm going to get our next wave spawn in. Again, we've got a Vigil and 2 Talwars. I'm going to move to the Talwar, get to about a 10 kilometer range on this. and activate the lasers, you'll see I'm going to miss like nothing, because obviously that optimal range of 12 kilometers plus the 2.5 on the fall off, it means that if I'm ever beyond sort of 16 kilometers, I'm just flat out missing. But there we are. We're going to hit the Talwar, and again, we're going to chew through its shields, because lasers deal electromagnetic damage, which just pops shields like you wouldn't believe. And you can see every time I fire, actually, that the capacitor drops just that tiny little bit, but I've got decent engineering skills, so the capacitor refills fairly swiftly. This means there we are, that Talwar is taking some huge chunks into its armour now. Down that's going to go. And I'm now taking some proper armour damage, so I'm going to start up my armour repairer. And here we go. Now, it's worth noting as well that unlike shield boosters, which boost your shield the second they're activated, you'll see here with an armour repairer, it's only once it finishes the cycle that it actually goes back up. And I can showcase that by stopping it for now, and you'll see that it'll go up there. Even though I've stopped it, it's at the end of the activation cycle that it actually pops that repair. That means you do need to activate an armor repairer slightly ahead of time. A shield repairer, a shield booster, once you take the damage, you can pop the shield booster and it'll immediately repair it. The armor one, you're going to have to wait a few seconds whilst it activates and cycles through before then popping. So it's worth getting it ahead of time. Like here, I'm taking a little bit of damage. I'm anticipating I'm going to take some more, so I'm going to pop the thing around, and then it goes up at the end. Sorted. Nice and simple. And now this Talwar, again, shield is now gone. We're pretty much 2/3 of the way through the armour. There goes the armour. We're halfway through the hull. And pop goes the Talwar, as the song goes. I know it's a weasel, but there we are. And that's that one dead. And you can see that this is a tier 3 ship, quite comfortably taking out a tier 4 anomaly. Again, yes, I do have slightly better guns than I normally would have on this particular ship, but I do assure you, if I had the Mark 3s handy, I would have just equipped those and gone in and shown you can do it with those as well. Great little ship. I just wanted to showcase really how shield tanking works, how this all actually, you know, plays out. Not shield tanking, sorry, armor tanking. Armor tanking, I need to talk about armor tanking. How armor tanking works and how those lasers cut through the shields and how you can just be doing these kind of anomalies. Very simple, very straightforward, great way of making money early on. Just grab yourself a nice combat frigate like this, learn how to pilot it, just keep it close towards your maximum range, and just keep firing at stuff. Pick your targets well. I know the Talwars are more damaging than the Vigil, so they're what's going to go down first. I'm keeping my armor repairer up. I can actually probably take off my afterburner now, though I may as well leave it on. It's not like my capacitor's really dropping. And you see, every time that cycles round, boom, up comes my armor, and that should be that first Talwar down as well. So we can move on to the next one. So even though I'm taking quite a bit of damage from those Talwars, it's mainly because there are 4 ships firing at me. And at this point, once one of them goes down, I can stay nice and relaxed, because I know once one of them's gone down, that's a quarter of the damage coming in that is going to have dropped off, which, yeah, it now means that, as you can see, I can almost turn the armor repairer off. I'm actually going to turn the armor repairer off for a bit, just to let the capacitor recover, because I'm not taking that much damage anymore. And as I say that, I take 21% damage. But then it's like 4% damage after that, so let's repair that up a little bit. You see the armor repairer does actually top up a huge chunk in one go as well. It's nice and relaxed and gentle. And we're keeping at range from those Talwars. Move on to this last Talwar. There we are. I'm going to keep at a 10-kilometer range. Down goes its shields. There we are. I don't know. I think there's a part of me that thinks that, you know, because this looks like a Thrasher, it's got that kind of shark profile. It reminds me of a Thrasher. This is a kind of great little pirate vessel that you can have just drifting through asteroid belts looking for unaware miners. And they're so cheap. They are so cheap that if you do discover someone and you try to blow them up and you utterly fail and get obliterated, you know, kind of, oh well. Oh well, and for the final test at least, these are seeded in stations, which means if you do get it blown up, they're readily available. You can find them in any sector, really. If there's an ITC nearby, you can buy one of these from it. Same with like the Kestrel, same with the what's it called, the Tristan and stuff like that. In fact, it's only really the Minmatar early frigates that suffer, because you've got the Rifter the Rifter, the Breacher, the Probe, and the Slasher, and just none of those are really great at combat early on. Anyway, so that is it. There we go. I have now beaten that entire anomaly, Tier 3 anomaly, sorry, Tier 4 anomaly on my own in a tiny little tier 3 tech 3 frigate. That simple, that easy. Well worth trying, well worth doing. If you like your Amarr, if you like your lasers, this is going to be a ship that you're using a lot early on in the game, so get out there and just get shooting some stuff in it. Anyway, I do hope you found this useful. Hope it's explained a little bit about armor tanking and a little bit how to use lasers. Hopefully it gives you an idea of what to start doing when you start with Amarr, when the game goes into live. But yeah, let me know your thoughts. Let me know your thoughts down below, and if you want to see me do some more stuff like different types of Amarr ships and where you go from here, do let me know. Otherwise, folks, happy sailing and see you in New Eden.